Well, joining me now is Congressman Tom Malinowski, a Democrat from New Jersey. He sits on the House Foreign Affairs and Homeland Security Committees. He also served as an Assistant Secretary of State before joining Congress. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. It was interesting, as things have clearly been escalating, to hear the Kremlin say today that in response to this, what they call terror attack along the Crimean Bridge, that they will not be issuing any sort of nuclear responses or attacks. But given that, and given what we've seen in these new attacks and strikes against Western Ukraine, do you view this as a further escalation, perhaps a new phase in this war that Putin clearly has been losing up to now?
I think Russia is still losing this war. Ukraine is continuing to make gains on the battlefields that actually matter in eastern and southern Ukraine. Putin is lashing out in the only way he knows how, through terror, by targeting civilians, by trying to increase the pain that the Ukrainian people are suffering. I think the only effect it's going to have is to further unify Ukrainians against him, and even more important, further unify the world against him. So while horrific, I don't think this changes the outcome of the war in any way.
Should it change how the U.S. responds to Vladimir Putin's latest actions? Clearly, we have continued to aid Ukraine militarily, some $16 billion in aid thus far. The president says that he will stand by Ukraine for as long as needed. That having been said, Ukrainians have long been calling for the United States to recognize Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. Is now the time to do that?
I think I've been in favor of that in the past, and the more important thing is the substance of what goes along with it, the substance of enforcing sanctions, which the United States has imposed, but some of our allies are not respecting, particularly our partners and so-called allies in the Persian Gulf that just made a decision to spike the price of oil globally in a way that will help Putin prolong this war.
Yeah.
I think dealing with the substance of that is probably more important than the names that we call the Russian government. And then in terms of provision of military equipment, I hope this is another wake-up call for our European allies, particularly Germany, to step up in providing the Ukrainian government with what it needs to defend itself and to reclaim its territory.
I want to get to the latest moves by OPEC Plus and your calls for a U.S. response in just a moment, but let's pick up on what you just left off there and touched upon, and that is the need for more military assistance for Ukraine. Clearly, for now, the focus has been there in the fighting in the east, both in the Donbass and in the south there in the country. But with these strikes coming on major cities in the west, strikes we haven't seen in months, will the U.S. be stepping up its military aid and support for Ukraine? And what pressure can the United States put on its allies to do the same?
Well, this highlights the need for the provision, in particular, of sophisticated air defense systems to control the skies over Ukraine, as President Zelensky has understandably been urging the West to help him do. Some of these systems, like the Patriot system, take time to help countries train up on and to develop the logistical chain to be able to use. Sophisticated aircraft, of course, the same can be said, but there's no reason why we shouldn't be starting now, even if it may take several months for the Ukrainians to be able to develop those capabilities. This does bring us back to the issue with our Persian Gulf allies. I think as we see this destruction raining down on Ukraine right now, we should remember that by some measure, we actually do more to defend Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates than we're doing to defend Ukraine. We actually have Patriot missile systems deployed in these countries in the Persian Gulf, manned by American crews that shoot down missiles fired by, for example, Houthi rebels in Yemen against the Saudis and the Emiratis. We don't do any of those things for the Ukrainians.
Quickly, if I can
we do this for countries that are hurting us rather than helping is
right.
something we need to, I think about.
And that's a point that you made last week in response to the moves to cut oil by 2% globally by OPEC Plus. You said that the U.S. should respond in one measure to withdraw the 3,000 U.S. troops that are stationed there. Have you had any other support from the Biden administration or Republican members of Congress for that proposal?
The Biden administration's response has been to say that all options are on the table. It's been publicly reported that they are considering not participating in military meetings with our Gulf partners in the coming weeks, including meetings on this subject of air defense, which I think would send a pretty important signal. Look, I think the Saudis, the Emiratis, some of our other partners around the world, I think they didn't quite understand and perhaps still don't fully comprehend that the war in Ukraine was a game changer for the United States, that this is the most important issue in the world. The United States, the American people, the people of Western Europe are making sacrifices every single day to support Ukraine. Saudi Arabia just decided to intensify our sacrifices, to make our pain harsher in order to help Putin.
Yeah,
and if there are no consequences for that, I just don't. I wouldn't understand that. So
yeah, and this came after months of pressure.
I would hope it gets support.
It came after months of pressure by U.S. officials behind the scenes to do just the opposite, and yet they did. Congressman Tom Malinowski, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.